Hello friends, I'm happy to see you again and welcome back to Cloud Pedagogy. In today's lab, we are going to work with the code in AWS Cloud9 to our student directory application. You already know that our student directory application is using Python Flask. We have looked at how to talk to many of the AWS services like network, compute, storage, and CodeCommit from our application. We have also used the APIs and the Python SDKs for our application as well. In AWS, there are many more SDKs available for lots of languages. The popularity of AWS Cloud9 is driven by its convenience factor. While it is not designed for a particular language, it will not serve an organization's, for example, Java development team, or provide the customization features similar to the Visual Studio Code. However, the AWS Cloud9 enables organizations in streamlining their software development in groups of diversified developers. This gives organizations the opportunity for productivity improvement on systems which would otherwise not deliver on the back of local hardware limitations. So in this lab, for the most part, you are going to use the graphical feature of Cloud9 to improve student directory application coding performance-wise. So what are we waiting for? Get going with our task. First, you create a repository in AWS CodeCommit. Then you will start the exercise by creating an AWS Cloud9 environment for your development environment. You will put the application under source control by using AWS CodeCommit. After that, everything is all up and running with your application. We will use AWS CodeCommit for adding source control capabilities to the application. So let's start with the task 1, create CodeCommit repository. So in this task, you add source control to the application by using AWS CodeCommit to set up a new repository. You then use Git within AWS Cloud9 to commit the code changes to the repository. So let's choose services and search for CodeCommit. And then I'm going to click on create repository. For the repository name, enter student app and then choose create. Good job, you have successfully created an empty repository for student directory application project. In the next task, we are going to create a Cloud9 environment for our student directory application. So for this task, you create an AWS Cloud9 environment for use as your development environment. You will download and unzip the source code you will be using in this course, and you are going to use it onto the AWS Cloud9 instance. So let's choose services and search for Cloud9. Make sure you are in the right region because my CodeCommit repository in the North Virginia region, I'm going to keep my region as North Virginia only. So let's go ahead and choose create environment. For the name, enter some name and then click create environment. Now that we have created an environment in the management console, we will just open that one. Alright, now remember we have a terminal window down here as well, and we are going to work with a bash a little bit, and we need to download our student directory application. So first download the application through the AWS Cloud9 terminal by running the command wget. Let me unzip my zip file. Good, now you can see the folder is created in the Cloud9 environment. Next, let me configure Git with your name and email address. Developer Rohi is trying to set the environment, so let me set her details. Say git config global user email with the email ID and then git config global username with the name. I'm not gonna dive into these commands since we have already discussed about these commands in the earlier sections. Next, in the terminal, initialize your repository with git init. And then we create a branch named main, and then we check out or switch to that branch with git checkout command. After that, we add all the files to the git index with the git add command. The files are now staged for a commit. So let me commit my files in git and log with a commit message with the git commit command. Next, we create a remote named origin. A remote is how Git tracks the remote repository that is hosted in CodeCommit. So I'll say CodeCommit with the prefix that tells Git to use CodeCommit with the remote helper. So finally, we update the remote named origin with the main branch of our files. So I'm going to push my files with git push origin main. Now let me see in the AWS console page whether these files are pushed into the AWS CodeCommit or not. So I'm going back to AWS CodeCommit and refreshing our student app repository. As you can see, all files are pushed into the repository. Let me open the readme text file. The file is open and it shows some project related information. Nice work. You have created a Cloud9 environment for our student directory application with the source code. In the next task, we are going to work around with student directory files and see the changes in the CodeCommit repository for the updated files. So in this task, you commit the feature changes to your code repository. You can commit the code by using either the AWS Cloud9 GUI or AWS CLI commands in the AWS Cloud9 terminal. We have already covered how these are worked with the AWS CLI in the previous session of this course. Right now we are focusing only on Cloud9, so let me do that in Cloud9 only. Let me change readme.txt file and see whether I can push the changes into the code commit from here. Well, I did add some text to this file and then saved it. After that, in the menu at the left side of the AWS Cloud9, choose the source control icon here. When you expand student app folder under changes, you can see only one file is indicated as changed. If I select the readme.txt file, you can view the difference between the original files and your changes. If you place the pointer over the file name and choose the stage icon plus symbol for the file, that stays the changes in readme.txt for a commit. The readme.txt file should now appear under stage changes. For committing the file in the source control pane, at the right side of the student app heading, you can see paper scroll icon. Left click the paper scroll icon and choose commit. Next, under the student app heading, enter commit message and then press enter. After committing, the next step is of course push these changes into the student app code commit repository. Again, in the student app heading, left click the paper scroll icon and choose push to. When prompted to select a remote, choose the remote named origin main. Good, we did not get any error message while pushing, which means that it successfully pushed the files. Let me go to the management console and verify the same. We have already opened the readme.txt file in the code commit repository, which was the previous version. Now I'll refresh the file here. As you can see, a new line is added in the file. Let me check our commits in here. Good, there are two pushes. One from the initial code setup, second one is readme.txt file change commit. Bravo, you exceeded all tasks. Now you have a clear understanding on how the AWS Cloud9 instance works and manage the source code in the code commit repository. We hope you are enjoying the course so far. We would like to get your input in the comments to make this even better. Thanks for your time and don't forget to subscribe so that you will get notified every time a Cloud Pedagogy is uploaded to the channel. I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, take care.